For a video today, I thought it might be interesting to talk about this commercial I shot recently, because I had a mix of different formats and these interesting challenges to make it all fit together authentically. So the commercial is a mix of phone footage, red Komodo footage, and we used the Sigma Cine lenses. We shot on a phone because it's meant to look like a phone. It's meant to look like selfies, home video footage, travel footage.
Let's roll camera.
And we talked about the idea of using a cinema camera, bringing the quality down in post, but we just thought everyone owns a phone camera and everyone knows what that image looks like. Everyone knows what the crappy auto stabilization, the auto white balance looks like. So we just decided to use a phone, but I'll talk about those shots a bit later. All right, first, I thought we'd talk about this scene here of the girl on the couch and some of the decision making that went into creating these shots. And again, I was just the DP on the shoot. There was many other people involved. For the full credit list, it's on my Instagram. So when we first scouted this location, we knew we were only doing 3 shots in here. This push-in shot, this top-down shot, and this macro of her eye. So we just looked around the room to find the best angle, and I thought this spot here of the window to the back left of the frame would work pretty good. And we never showed what was in front of her on the couch, so it didn't matter that there was a door going outside right in front of her. It actually worked in our favour, being able to have the access for the dolly to go in there. So we lit this with the Nanlux 650C up against the window, which is giving a bit of a glow to the room and giving her this edge on her face. Then next to that we had the 600D spotlight. That's just hitting the couch and her legs and giving a bit of dappled light. And all the lights were balanced at around 3200 Kelvin, because we were going for a bit of an afternoon look. Then because those 2 lights are coming from sort of the back side of her, there wasn't much light on her face and she was almost in silhouette. So inside here, we used a Light Matte 4, I think it was, and that's just giving a soft wrap around her face. Then in the background here, we had a 300D or X, adding a bit of light on the wall. Through the door where the camera was dollying through, there was a porch out there. So we just had that area blacked off so no ambient daylight would come in and front light the scene. Then we just set the track and put the dolly on it and just did the shot a few times. If you were doing a short film or a spec ad, you could do this a bit cheaper. You could just use a little slider and get the same effect. The only benefit with the dolly is that when you push in, you can boom up as you're going in, not like a slider where you go in and then get to the end and tilt up to the person. It just gives a different perspective going up to their face. It's a bit more subtle than going in and looking right up under their chin. But all this lighting gear is fairly cheap. I know some people are going to complain about how expensive they are, but if you were to do it properly with a 18K outside, going into a 12x frame with the gaffer and the electrics and the generator truck and the burn time from each, that's when it starts adding up to be a lot of money. So this modern day of filmmaking is fairly cheap to what it's been for a long time. And the other reason we used the dolly was because the next shot was a boom up shot above her. Not only does it go straight up, unlike a jib that has a bit of an arc on it as it goes up, you save so much time just wheeling the dolly over to the spot where you want and it's good to go. Other than getting another bit of gear in, like a jib, then re-rigging the camera on the other bit of gear. Because shooting commercials, well, shooting anything really, is all about time and schedules. On a commercial, it's cheaper to hire a dolly like that if it's going to be faster and better, rather than going into overtime with all the crew. And that's just a conversation I had with the grip in pre-production. What would be better and faster to get these shots?
And 3, 2, 1, action.
The lighting for these shots is more or less the same. We just brought that 600D inside to get a bit more out of it and added these floppies over the top of her to add a bit more contrast. Then in post, they just comped this image over the phone. All right, and then we go to this macro shot of the eye. We had a probe lens that we tried first, but it didn't look right for the shot. So we swapped that out for the 85 with the diopter instead. Then, because we were so close on the eye, and knowing that this ad was going to play on big screens and TVs and all over the place, you can see the reflection of the light in her eye. I thought back to an article I saw from Steve Yedlin, who's an amazing cinematographer who shot huge movies and just has really great solutions for overcoming problems. And how they overcame this problem on the movie Knives Out with the reflections in the glasses, and how they put up cardboard windows in front of the lights so the lights wouldn't reflect back in the glasses, they would look like windows. So I sort of thought about that on a very small level and just said, hey, to the art department, let's throw that sheer curtain that was on the window over this light and it'll reflect in our eyes and look a little bit like the window. And I think it kind of worked. The only thing I would do differently if I was to do it again was to have more ambience in the room so you can see the walls and the bookshelves and the other stuff that's in there if I was to do it again. But it's just a little bit better than having this square box of a light frame in the shot. And then there was another shot that we did on the Komodo, which was the end of her on a chair swing at the fairground, and got the grips to rig the camera onto the chair so it was kind of safe but still able to be handheld. And we were going to shoot a few different angles, but we ended up just shooting this one. And I think this one works out the best because we're looking into the lights on the ride. One thing I did do was ask the guy in charge of the ride, the carny folk? Is that what they're called?
What's the other thing that scares you?
Carnies, circus folk, smell like cabbage, small hands.
To turn off all the lights that were front lighting her. The only light that's hitting her is the one that you see on her side and the one above. None of these ones that were behind the camera or to the side of the camera. Then I got into the camera chair to do the shot, filming back on her, and immediately got f***ing sick and couldn't do the shot. So someone else took over and operated the camera while I sat on the sideline and cried, and everyone laughed at me. But the benefit was I got to sit with the focus balloon and have an early dinner. Alright, and I'll talk a little bit about these realistic looking phone scenes that we did. So there's people on set who need to see the monitor and approve things, like the client and the agency and me, the director. So my AC friend Ben and Raz came up with this great option for monitoring the phone, where we had a phone mounted to a cage with the signal going out into a Teradek, which is powered by a V-lock on the back. Then we had another monitor on the front to get a bigger image. Then there was a few iPads on set that you could watch the live stream. And I've never really lit a scene on a phone before, so that was a bit of a learning curve. We set up a lot of lights and neg trying to get some shape that we wanted, but we also wanted the phone to do its auto features so it looked real. We ended up turning off a lot of the film lights that we have. It was just so bright and kind of strange because it just looked too lit. So I mean, lighting wise, the shots look a bit shit, but that's not really the point. It was meant to look real, and I think it does. So that's your job as the DP, to make it look like it's meant to look, and not just be a backlighting robot all the time and trying to make things look as pretty as you can make them look. Doing what's needed for the job is necessary sometimes. Alright, cool, I think that's going to do it for this one. Let me know in these breakdowns if there's any other things you want me to add, and I'll try and add them in the future. And if you have any other questions I haven't covered, just leave it in the comments and I'll try and get back to them if I can. Alright, cool.